Hello aspirants, I welcome you all to daily newspaper analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 12th of February 2025. Displayed here are the list of articles that we are going to discuss today. In this first article, we'll be discussing about the land borders with which India is sharing with the neighboring countries. In the second article, we'll be discussing about the features of newly launched Sukai 57 fighter jet. In the third article, we'll be discussing about the forest fire and how it will have an impact on environment. And in the fourth article, we'll be discussing a very important landmark judgment and what are all the consequences of the judgment. So without any delay, let us get into the news article discussion. Now look at this article. This article talks about addressing the growing threat of forest fires. So from the prelims perspective, knowing about forest fire and the types of it and how it will have an impact on environment is very important. So let us see them from the prelims perspective. Let's start with what is forest fire. See, forest fire are nothing but uncontrolled fire that spreads throughout the forest. So there are three different types of forest fire. These three are the main different types. The first one is the ground fire that burns in the ground level. It affects all the roots as well as the peat, and in the surface level, if there is fire that burns the leaf litter and the dry grasses, then we call it as surface fire. Thirdly, the crown fire that spreads through the tree top. So here, if there is fire on the tree top, then we call it as the crown fire. This crown fire is the most dangerous one, and controlling it is very difficult. Now talking about the forest fire in India and the statistics about it, see, according to the Forest Survey of India, 36% of Indian forests are fire prone. This is mainly because the forest in our country have all types of forest, mainly composed of deciduous forest. See, when we call it as a deciduous tree or deciduous forest, it means that the leaf will be shed during the summer season. So during summer season, the leaves will be there in the ground, and eventually when there are multiple causes that lead to a fire, initiating a fire, it will lead to widespread forest fire. So it is very common in our country, and nearly 36% of Indian forest are prone to forest fires. And according to CEEW, tenfold increase in forest incidents in last 20 years, and nearly 1.12% rise in high intensity fires. So remember all these data, you can even mention it in your mains answer writing. Now moving on, we shall see about what are all the causes of forest fire. See, the first thing is the natural causes like the climate change, especially the drought or the heat wave or strong winds. They can actually cause forest fire. A very good example you can take is the Australian bushfire. It happens due to the climatic changes as well as the environment impact. And talking about the second important cause, it is anthropogenic cause. Like nearly 90% of the cause is human induced. For example, slash and burn agriculture. See, this slash and burn agriculture is like a primitive type of agriculture in which people will be selecting a particular forest land. They will be clearing all the trees in the particular forest land using fire. So what happens when they clear the land? All the fire, all the trees will be converted into ashes. This ashes will be used as nutrition, for which they will be planting. They will be doing agriculture for subsistence. So what happens is, once the nutrition of this particular plot gets over, they will be moving to the next plot. So whenever this kinds of incidents happens, we call it a slash and burn agriculture, and this slash and burn agriculture actually causes a lot of forest fire. And in India, in different parts, different tribes have different names, remember that also. And we have unattended campfires that also leads to forest fire, especially the cigarette bits, though they actually cause the biggest forest fire. And the land cleaning which happens illegally, for which the fire is used. And power lines, sometimes due to wind, they just crash with each other and lead to a fire breakout and any kind of machinery usage. So these are all certain causes of forest fires. Now talking about the environmental impact, see, firstly, the biodiversity will be lost. So biodiversity, we are talking about even the shrub, even a small plant to taller plant, everything will be lost. So it also leads to soil erosion and desertification. This case happens when the forest fire is very frequent. See, we require forest fire, but when it is happening frequently, it will actually destruct the entire biodiversity even before replenishing. So what happens is it leads to soil erosion. Most of the soil will be exposed to the air, and when the rain is pouring down, it will be runoff. So this happens, and even it leads to desertification. Desertification is nothing but land will lose all the nutrients due to the soil erosion. So this you have to remember, and it also leads to disruption of CO2 sequestration. We know that the forest is actually the highest carbon sequester medium for us, and nearly 69 million tons CO2 annually will be stored in forest. This will be lost. And talking about the economic and ecological impact, when we talk about economic, we'll be losing the timber, and we will be losing non-timber products, for example the honey and etc. And when we talk about the ecological, it will disrupt the water cycle, it will lead to soil degradation as well as human wildlife conflict, because all the animals will be getting into our cities. So these are all very important facts that you have to remember about forest fire. Now I have a preliminary question for you. Let me read out the question. Which of the following is not a major cause of forest fire in India? So here the correct answer for the question is option D, volcanic eruption. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Now look at this article. This article reads, two army personnel including a captain were killed and another injured in an IED explosion near the line of control LOC. So even though these kinds of news frequently appear in newspapers, we have to learn about what is this line of control, what led to the issue like these. So those kinds of things we have to revise. So let's start with how many countries does India shares a land border with. So it shares land border with 7 countries. Here you can see the map. It includes Pakistan, Afghanistan, China, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh and Myanmar. So these are the 7 countries. When we talk about neighboring country, we have to include Sri Lanka as well. So remember this. And in this news article discussion, we shall see about the 3 important land borders with which India is being even disputed even today. So let's start with the India-Pakistan border. If you take India-Pakistan, it shares border with the different states. For example, the Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Rajasthan and Gujarat. Here you can see it, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Punjab and J&K. So these are the states with which Pakistan shares a border with. So here the specific line given is the Radcliffe line. It has given after during the time of independence in 1947, and the line of control came after the India-Pakistan war. So what happened during India-Pakistan war was our Prime Minister Mr. Nehru, he took the issue to United Nations. United Nations, instead of asking the Pakistan army to go back, they just gave a ceasefire. This ceasefire zone is actually even today is a contention point. So until this point, they have occupied India's territory, and that is why it is called as POK, that is Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So this actually has not solved the issue, but it has led to a lot of issues even today. So remember that. And when we talk about the special feature with respect to this border, every day there will be Atari Waha border ceremony. So they will be sharing respect between 2 countries, and it is actually heavily militarized, very heavily militarized. And the Thar Desert, it actually acts as a natural barrier. So even though we install a lot of preventive measures, like we put a lot of fences, we are bringing in a lot of thermal cameras, even then we could not handle it properly because it acts as a natural barrier. So remember this. Now moving on, we shall see about the India-China border. Here in this map you can see it, the Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. So here you can see it. This is Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, then Sikkim, and then Arunachal Pradesh. So these are the states with which China shares a border with. So the line of this is the line of actual control. And when we talk about the origin, it actually leads back to 1914 McMahon line, and China is actually not conferring with this, like it is not accepting this particular line, which is a dispute even today. So it got intensified in 1962 during the Indo-China War. And when we talk about the special feature, we still have undefined border, so a lot of frequent tensions has been there, and the Doklam and Galwan Valley standoffs. So those kinds of standoffs often happen in our India-China border. Doklam is near Bhutan, and we have Nathula and Bumla Pass. Passes are nothing but a little bit of gap given by, it is like a natural pathway given in between mountains. So those kinds of passes are there, which leads to trade and military routes. So these are the important facts that you have to remember from the India-China border. Now moving on to the India-Nepal. So Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, and Sikkim, they share border with Nepal as a country, and it is actually a open border. We have 1950 India-Nepal Treaty, which means it is porous. We can go there and they can even come here. So it actually had its evolution. It is defined by Sagoli Treaty 1815. And when we talk about special feature, we can travel without visa, and there are certain disputed areas, for example the Kalapani, Lipule, and Sasta. Here you have to remember, mark all these parts. So even if it is asked in your preliminary question, you can manage and you can use it in your mains as a diagram as well. So these kinds of key trade routes include Raxol and Virgunji. So far, we saw about India's land borders, and we discussed about 3 important land borders. We have to see another 4 that we have provided in PDF. You can look into it. And with these learned points, let us move on to the next news article discussion. Now look at this article. As you all know, very recently we celebrated 75th Republic Day of our country. So one of the very important judgment that also led to proper functioning of our republic is this Shankari Prasad Singh Dev versus Union of India case of 1951. So what is this case is about? Let us see them from the preliminary point of view. Before that, remember this case is particularly about the zamindari system. So we shall quickly go through the land revenue system which was there during the British India. See, it can be classified into 3 different types. Firstly, the zamindari, then the rayatwari, then the mahalwari. So the zamindari system, it was launched by Lord Cornwallis in 1793. This was launched in 1820, Rayatwari, Sir Thomas Munro. Then 1833, Mahalwari by William Bentinck. See, all the names and the years are very, very important. Even when you are asked while sleeping, you have to just wake up and tell all the names. So it is that important. It can be asked in prelims as well as you can use it in your mains. So these systems, it has been operated, it has been imposed in certain areas during certain time periods under which the Indian country was under British control. So for example, the Zamindari system, it was implemented in Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, and Banaras. And in this particular system, the zamindar is actually the owner of the land, and he will be extracting the revenue from all the peasants who is working under him, and he will be paying it to the government after getting some commission. So this is how the zamindari system works. When we talk about the rayatwari system, here the riots or the peasants are the owner of the particular land. It was implemented in Madras, Bombay, Eastern Bengal, Assam, and Coorg. And remember, in this particular system, British government, they will be collecting the tax directly from the peasants. And when we talk about the Mahalwari system, see, Mahal itself, it means a particular village or a committee. So this kind of system, it was implemented in northwestern provinces or parts of central India, then Punjab and Ganga Valley of British India. So here the village committee, they will be held responsible for collecting all the taxes. Now remember all the year and remember all the person who introduced it. Now talking about the case, see, after independence, we brought in lot of agrarian reform. One of the agrarian reform is abolishing this zamindari system. Especially the Bihar, UP, and West Bengal, they aimed to abolish the zamindari system. When this came in front, the zamindars, they opposed it in the High Court. So they said that it actually violates Article 14, right to equality, Article 19 1F. Article 19 1F is nothing but the right to acquire a particular land. Article 31 is right to property. So it violates these kinds of law actually violates all the these three are the fundamental rights. So it violates the fundamental rights. So they have given petition to the court. So this is what the famous Shankari Prasad Singh Devo versus Union of India case. And the High Court, they struck down the land reform law. So this actually did not stop there, and it led to the First Amendment and the key issue. The First Amendment happened in 1951. Remember this also. This inserted Article 31A and 31B, and it shielded land reform laws from judicial review. Remember all this. So this actually led to a lot of key issues. For example, can the Parliament amend fundamental rights or not, especially under Article 368, and Article 13. It talks about state. Article 13 clause 2, it talks about like challenging whether a particular law is null and void or not. So for that you can challenge that particular law in the court. So this clause particularly talks about that. So do amendments violate this particular article? So those kinds of questions has been raised, and that is when our Supreme Court came in. And Supreme Court actually upheld the First Amendment Act 1951, and it said the validity is there. And it said Parliament can amend the Constitution, including the fundamental right, especially under Article 368. This was said by Supreme Court. And later it said that the amendment is not equal to law, especially under Article 13 clause 2, and it cannot be challenged for violating fundamental rights. So this is what the Supreme Court said, and it said Parliament's authority to abolish zamindari system has been affirmed in the sense it has been upheld by the court. So this was the court ruling then. And this particular judgment had a lot of impact. For example, it strengthened Parliament's amending power, especially giving the power even to amend the fundamental rights. And it led to a lot of agrarian reforms and land distribution. See, abolition of zamindari is one thing. Then we brought in land ceiling. Land ceiling is a particular person can hold a particular amount of land. Beyond that, he cannot hold. So the beyond that, the land will be given to even the landless or even the peasants who worked there, or the crop planters. So the land ceiling reforms has been brought in, and lot of redistribution initiatives were also launched during that time after independence. So those kinds of things happened after this judgment, and it also led to the stage for future challenges. For example, the Golaknath case 1967. In this case, the court said the Parliament cannot amend fundamental rights, but then it led to the evolution of the basic structure. So what court said is, in the case of Keswananda Bharati case of 1973, court said that you can amend the constitution, but you cannot amend the basic structure of the constitution. And the first time basic structure has been given in this particular Keswananda Bharati case. And this particular judgment, it also led to 44th Amendment, very important, 1978. It led to the abolition of right to property as a fundamental right. Even today, it is a legal right under Article 300, but it is not a fundamental right in our constitution. Remember all these, very, very important case. Now I have a preliminary question based on this. Consider the following statements regarding the case Shankari Prasad Singh Dev versus Union of India 1951. Here three statements have been given. The first statement says the case challenged the constitutional validity of the First Amendment Act 1951. Second statement says the Supreme Court ruled that Parliament could not amend fundamental rights under Article 368. Third statement says the case was related to the abolition of zamindari system in India. So here the correct answer for the question is option B, 1 and 3 only. The second statement is actually incorrect as per this particular judgment. Remember that. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Now look at this article. This article talks about recently happening Aero India 2025. So in this particular expo, Russia's state-owned defense export company, it has participated with its Sukai 57 fighter jet. Now what is the very speciality about this Sukai 57 fighter jet is that it is first fifth generation fighter jet, and And even the company has said that it will collaborate with HCL and it will be generating this particular fifth generation fighter jet even in India, even before the end of this 2025. So this is what the news article is about. So from the prelims point of view, we shall revise about key features of the Sukai 57 fighter jet. So let's start with what are all the important notes that I have to make. See, it has a stealth multi-role fighter. It is developed by Sukai and it is designed to compete with F-22 Raptor and F-35 Lighting 2. See, these two aircrafts are USA's aircrafts, so they can give a very big tough to all these aircrafts. So some of the key features include firstly stealth. Stealth is like a particular form of designing. You can see here it will be designed in this way. So the radar observing component materials will be given and it will be provided with a sleek design. So the internal weapon base will be there, as well as they will be when we talk about stealth, it actually will not be appearing in any kind of radar. So that is what here they have said, that it has reduced radar cross sections. So even if the aircraft just passes through, it does not get interfered with any kind of radar. So that is what we call it as stealth. So these kinds of things, it will be very useful during war kind of things, as well as displaying our capabilities. Moving on, we shall see about the avionics and sensors. AESA, that is the Activated Electronically Scanned Array Radar, will be used for easy detection, and IRST, that is Infrared Search and Track System, will also be there, and AI assisted pilot system support will also be there. Talking about the performance, it is actually a super cruise. Mach 1.6 without afterburns will be there. So you can just comment what is Mach 1.6 in the comment section. And they have a thrust vectoring engine. For example, this leads to extreme maneuverability. See, don't just fear about all these hard words. To be very simple, it is the first fifth generation aircraft and it is giving a very big tough fight to even the competitors. That is what the features of the particular aircraft is telling about. Now moving on, we shall see about the weapon usage. We can shoot air to air, air to ground, as well as anti-ship missiles. We can use anti-ship missiles. For example, the air to air missile, we can use R-77, R-74. See, these kinds of number are not important, but you can just go through it. Now talking about EW and AI, we have advanced EW system. EW is nothing but electronic warfare, and we have AI enabled pilot assistance, which we saw earlier. Here I have given a comparison and conclusion between Sukai 57, F-22 Raptor and F-22 Lightning 2. Here you can see how very big advantage this particular Sukai 57 will give, and India is also going to get this by 2025 as per the news article. So this will also strengthen our country's weapon as well. So here I have a prelims question for you. The Sukai 57 is classified as which generation of aircraft? It is very easy. It is fifth generation. Correct answer is fifth generation. So with this, we came to the end of the news article discussion. If you like the video, hit like, do comment, and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now, thank you so much for listening.